Going into the 2025 college football season, some of the biggest freshman quarterback names were guys like Bryce Underwood, Keelan Russell, Tavian St. Clair, Husan Longstreet, Malik Washington, or Deuce Knight. As we are now a couple of weeks through the season, a freshman quarterback has come out of nowhere that nobody knew anything about. His name was Mason Heintschel. He was ranked as the number 43 quarterback in the country and a 3-star recruit, and today he has had a historic debut. With Pittsburgh's season looking like it was practically over, Heintschel ended up taking over for Eli Holstein and completely dazzled, throwing for over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. He might be the guy to help save Pittsburgh's season, and in today's video, I want to introduce you to this guy's ridiculous story. 2 years ago, he was listed as a 2-star recruit who only had one Power 4 offer, but he ended up having a late surge in his recruitment, and now could be the next big thing for the Pittsburgh Panthers. I want to introduce you to Pitt's new starting quarterback today, but before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's go ahead and get started, and talk about Mason Heintschel. So in order to understand how Mason got to this point, we first need to go back in time. He was always destined to be a quarterback, as his dad was a baseball pitcher at the University of Michigan, and also played football. His older brother Logan was a starting quarterback for Clay High School for 3 years, and this meant that as a kid, Mason was always playing football and tagging along at his brother's games, and he was studying and accumulating knowledge. He always dreamed about getting a chance to play college football one day, especially at a power conference school, but growing up in the town of Oregon, Ohio, the odds of that were pretty low. There weren't many quarterbacks in the area that really ever made it big, but Heintschel was hoping to be the next big thing. As a sophomore, he began to start for his team as he led the Three Rivers Athletic Conference in both passing yards and touchdowns. He threw for 2,493 yards and 24 touchdowns, while completing nearly 70% of his passes. After the season was over, he started to get some recruiting attention, as the Toledo Rockets were the first program to show interest in him. He also then got offers from schools like Kent State, Coastal Carolina, Akron, Bowling Green, and Liberty, but getting that UT offer was exciting, he said. He had been in contact for them for a while, and this would kickstart his recruitment. As a junior, he ended up blowing up, as he had over 3,000 yards of total offense and 33 touchdowns, despite a lackluster offensive line. Heintschel was named the Northern Lakes League Cardinal Division Offensive Player of the Year, and in 2023, he had a Hail Mary game winner in Week 1, 6 touchdown passes in Week 2, and a scramble touchdown that made it on the Sports Center in Week 7. That was pretty cool for him. Pittsburgh and their staff were evaluating talent and trying to find their 2025 quarterback, and eventually they spotted Heintschel. It was his first Power 4 offer, and he said, quote, "I'm honored to be in that position. A school of that caliber and a school that's a Power 4 team, and for them to come and pull the trigger on me, that was a no-brainer for me. They saw something in me that not many other teams saw, and I'm blessed to be in this position and looking forward to being a Panther." He chose Pitt over schools like Liberty, Toledo, Ohio, and Bowling Green. There was a visit to Pitt on March 8th where he checked out their campus, as well as their football facilities, and this would solidify his choice. He said, quote, "I just knew as soon as I stepped foot on campus, this was the place for me. I got to meet all the coaches and build relationships with them over the past few months, and on that visit, it was a no-brainer for me." So yeah, at the time, Heintschel was committed to Pitt, and he was a 2-star recruit. Nobody nationally was talking about this guy, but as I was surfing the web through articles, I found one guy that actually thought this guy was going to be a big deal. He said this: "It would be easy to point to Mason Heintschel as an underwhelming commitment, as he's not a 4-star recruit or doesn't have a ton of offers, but I think he's going to be a huge pickup. I can't claim to know much about the level of talent in Northwest Ohio, but I know it's an area that's not recruited heavily, and Heintschel fell through the cracks. His film is incredible, and he has enough natural arm length to whip throws back across his body. He can drop a 50-yard pass into the bucket on a run, and he's athletic enough to make plays off platform." He then predicted that big-time schools would eventually find Heintschel and pursue him, and that's part of the reason why Pitt waited so long to offer him, because they didn't want other schools to jump into the race, and they wanted him to be a hidden gem. He was at Clay High School, which is not exactly known as a powerhouse, and he could have joined about any private school in the area if he wanted to, but he decided to turn that down. This all helped out in Pitt's favor, as during his senior season, Heintschel threw for 2,300 yards and 34 touchdowns, while also rushing for 721 yards and 5 scores, and Clay won their first league title in over 40 years. Being able to extend plays with his legs was one of his best qualities, and along with his toughness, Pitt absolutely loved this guy. Eventually, programs did realize they had made a mistake late in the process. Pitt was always going to be the school. They were the first Power 4 school to offer him, and it was all mutual, and that's where he was going to go. But then apparently Michigan came calling. A source close to the situation said that before National Signing Day, if the Wolverines didn't get Bryce Underwood, Heintschel was going to be their top target. He ended up saying no, as Michigan was not going to be for him, and every other Power 4 school that eventually offered was told he was not considering them. In total, Heintschel ended up passing for 7,322 yards and 79 total touchdowns while he was at Clay High School. He would earn 4-star status from On3, but according to 24/7 Sports, Mason was a 3-star recruit, the number 44 quarterback, and the 721st best player in the class of 2025. So how would Heintschel end up doing at Pitt? Well, let's go ahead and take a look. As I said, there are a couple of big names in the 2025 class, but nobody was talking about Mason Heintschel. I have to be completely honest and transparent. I would say I know about 90% of the quarterbacks who are going to Power 4 schools each and every year, and I would put my knowledge up against pretty much anybody, but I did not know who Mason Heintschel was going into today. This morning when I was watching Game Day, I saw that he was announced as the starting quarterback, and I did a double take because I had no clue who he was. When he arrived at Pitt though, Panthers fans were excited for him, and he would battle it out with Eli Holstein and Western Carolina transfer Cole Gonzalez for the starting job. He was not expected to play, except maybe in mop-up duty. Cade Bell really liked him, and he was the perfect quarterback for his system. He was also the first quarterback commit that Bell himself had landed, and eventually he was probably going to be given the green light, but there's no way a 3-star kid would start as a true freshman. At least that's what we all thought. Pitt got off to an interesting start during the 2025 season, as after a disastrous end of the 2024 season, the pressure was on Eli Holstein to produce. He ended up having a good first game, but after a loss to West Virginia and last week against Louisville, Pitt was in a dangerous spot. It looked like the season was going to completely fall apart if they didn't make a change, and that's exactly what they did today. Going into today's matchup, Mason was announced as the starter, but he only had 4 passing attempts in his entire career. Those 4 came against Central Michigan in Week 2, but Mason was ready for the occasion, as today against Boston College, he ended up putting on a show. Pittsburgh saved their season as they blew out the Eagles 48-7, and Mason went 30 of 41 for 323 yards and 4 touchdowns while completing 73% of his passes. For a true freshman making his first career start against another Power 4 team, this is extremely impressive. I probably wouldn't be making this video if this game came against a school like Villanova or St. Francis or something, but because it's against a Power 4 team in this situation, I feel like he's definitely worthy of getting a video and getting hyped up. It has only been 1 game, but this could completely change the direction of Pitt's season. What makes it even crazier is that the Panthers were missing their best weapon, Desmond Reed, to injury, but it didn't seem to bother Mason at all. The Panthers' season was starting to look dead in the water, but now they might have some hope. They may have also completely unearthed a hidden gem that could break into college football and become a big name here soon. Sure, it's only been 1 game, but this guy has an incredible story, and I'm glad I got to share it with you guys today. But what do you guys think? If you're a Pitt fan, what do you think of Mason Heintschel? How do you think he'll do the rest of the season? And what other player on another team should I spotlight next? I love doing these types of videos, and if you have a suggestion, let me know down below. Leave a like if you support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.